So good news and bad news if you're a Giant fan. The good news, the Giants are in first place in the NFC East. The bad news, Daniel Jones is injured. So it can never really always be the way you fully want it. There's always got to be some type of caveat. And it's too bad. We'll see what happens. It sounds like Jones, it's not a season ender. He hurt his hamstring on an innocent-looking play. And he came back in for a few plays. Clearly, it just was not going to work out. You can question whether they should have just had him not come back in at all. You don't want to have there be any further damage. But all indications, it seems like he certainly is going to be out versus the Seahawks. And then moving forward, we'll see. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if this is a multi-week injury. But you could look at it in a way where the Giants probably would have lost to Seattle even with Jones. I would have liked to have seen what they would have done. So now we'll see what career backup Colt McCoy can do. I think the Giants will try to set up a game plan where it's very low risk. You're not going to put him in a position to fail. And you hope that the defense and the special teams, and we'll get into the Bengal game and some of the struggles there, hope they can somehow figure out a way. The Seahawks played on Monday night out on the East Coast. So that could prove to be problematic for them, I suppose. But with Colt McCoy, it's hard to be super optimistic from a Giant perspective. So the Giants won a nail-biter against the Bengals. And it seems like the Giants, they kind of just play to their competition. I think I can safely say that that's true this season. Where, like, the underdogs seem to be covering, whether it's the Giants that are that underdog or whether they're the favorite and kind of just holding on. It seems like that's kind of been the theme of the season. But it was a gritty win. It wasn't pretty at all. They had a great first drive where Wayne Gallman scores on a 4th and goal. And Wayne he seems to be a touchdown machine. And really, he's been like the engine of the offense in a lot of ways. He really kind of epitomizes what the Giants are trying to bring to the table. That kind of hard-nosed, put your head down and go attitude. So the Giants seem like maybe they'd be on their way to an easy victory, but not so fast. The Bengals get a kickoff return for a touchdown. And at that point, you got to have the sense of this was going to be a very close game, unfortunately. And it was a tie game at half. Evan Ingram had a very big game, but also mistake-filled as well, where he had a big fumble. But they were definitely trying to target him for sure in this one. And Daniel Jones had his struggles when he was in there, I have to say. Made a couple of good plays, but was very close to getting intercepted. So obviously no one's going to talk about that much, but didn't love what I saw in this game. Not bad, not great. And the defense did a very good job, and they should have, against Brandon Allen, a career, he's a journeyman, and they were getting in there. There was good pressure. They were getting turnovers, and it's a sum of its parts defense. To me, there was a couple of unsung heroes this weekend. Jabal Sheard, who ends up getting the sack, which led to the fumble recovery by Leonard Williams to clinch the game late. And then Nico Lalos, who played his first career game, gets a great interception. That was pretty athletic. Dives and the ball does not hit the ground. So it just feels like the Giants are building from within to a degree. Obviously, Sheard is he's been around. But with the practice squad guys being activated and making an impact, it does feel like the Patriot way a bit. With that being said, there's a lot of dominant forces on that defense. James Bradbury is a lockdown corner. Jabril Peppers has been great. He's all over the field making plays. Logan Ryan, what a leader. This was a very good pickup for the Giants that changed the culture in that locker room. This guy has won Super Bowls. So I feel like the whole feel of the team is changing. Leonard Williams, he's been great. Who would have thought? It's a contract year, so would I necessarily sign him long term? I'm not so sure about that, but he has been a monster. Let's be honest. So love what I'm seeing from the defense. There was one drive when they were up 19-10 where things got a little bit, let's just say, dicey. Gave up a touchdown. Graham Gano, also, I should say, was a big reason for the victory. He has been Pro Bowl level. Absolutely. 4 key field goals that helped this team, with the 19-17 victory. So it appeared as if the Giants, up 19-10, and this is the Giants we're talking about. I still consider them one of the bigger choky teams of the league. Chokiest teams of the league. And the Giants had a chance to end the game. And it appeared that they did. McCoy finds Wayne Gallman, first down. Game's over. Not so fast. Holding on Cam Fleming. They would have to punt. On said punt, Alex Erickson almost took it to the house. Luckily, Cam Brown made a game-saving tackle at about midfield. And at this point, you're thinking, okay, this is going to be another heartbreaking Giant loss. But as I mentioned before, with Jabal Sheard making the key play to sack Brandon Allen, that was critical. That was really important as far as giving the Bengals absolutely no chance. Leonard Williams recovers the ball, and that's a ball game. That's the win for the Giants to put them at 4-7. They are tied with Washington at 4-7. And the Eagles are now have a record of 3-7-1. And the Cowboys are 3-8. Some division, right? I mean, that is some impressive division you got here. Washington with a big victory against Dallas on Thanksgiving. Great result for the Giants. That was exactly what you want as a Giant fan for many, many reasons. Huge. You had the tiebreaker against Washington as it is. Dallas already beat the Giants, and they play in Week 17, and Dallas has the easier schedule remaining. Exactly what you wanted in that situation. And Dallas, obviously, things don't look good, but in this division, I'm not going to rule anyone out yet. Absolutely. Let's be honest, Dallas is a game out with 5 games to go. So they are not out either, but certainly if you're a Cowboy fan, you're not feeling great about things. And the Eagles continue to lose games. They've had tough opponents. The schedule's getting tough, and Carson Wentz just doesn't have it. That offense looks completely off. And so this division is completely wide open. If Daniel Jones was healthy, I would be feeling better about things. With that being said, it really depends on when he comes back. And I would not rush him. Let him sit. Certainly let him sit against Seattle. He should not play that game. Against Arizona, you reassess. You see how he is. But hamstrings are difficult. So, I would sign up for him sitting out these next 2 and him being close to fully healthy for that Cleveland game with 3 to go. I think if he misses the next 2 games, I think the division is still, as crazy as that sounds, still within reach. So I'm basically saying you lose to Seattle, that puts you at 4-8. And then also I'm saying you very well could lose to Arizona with McCoy. You could maybe win that game even with McCoy, but let's just say you lose and you're 4-9. Believe it or not, you're actually still in it. I kind of think that 6 wins is that magic number to win. So 6-10, or I guess in the Eagles' case, 6-9-1, that does it. 7-9 absolutely gets you, and I don't really see any of these teams getting there, though. So the Giants basically have to finish, in all likelihood, 2-3, to end the season. And I think that it's possible. And you'll take any playoff game you can get. Absolutely. And I think with the shape of the NFC, we'll get into greater detail there. They can maybe win a game. Why not? Really. There's a lot of teams in the NFC in the middle there that are kind of up and down and are showing a lot of question marks. So this was the opportunity and the scoreboard results that you needed as a Giant fan. Washington with the win over Dallas. Giants, of course, taking care of business, beating the Bengals, and Seattle beating the Eagles. Perfect. Now, this coming week, you have the Eagles at the Packers. Got to think Green Bay wins that one. Giants at the Seahawks. Gonna think Seattle gets it. And then 2 games that were moved due to the Steeler-Raven COVID situation. Those got moved to Monday and Tuesday. Monday being Pittsburgh against Washington in Pittsburgh. So, got to give Pittsburgh the edge there, of course. And then you have Dallas at Baltimore. And Baltimore by then should get Lamar Jackson back. I think out of all 4, I probably give Dallas the best chance. With that being said, you have to think that the NFC East loses all 4, all on the road, all against tough opponents. So, and you take that, especially with no Daniel, like as sad as it is, I can't say it enough. I would sign up for that 1,000% if that's the end results. And if some team can win one of those games, oh wow, that goes a long way, a really long way. If one of these teams can kind of do something that we haven't seen, and that's like win a big time game that isn't expected at all, changes the whole course of the division. So, a lot to be excited about in terms of games of meaning the rest of the way. Unless Daniel Jones is going to be out longer than we expect, you're looking at the last weeks of the season having games of great meaning. And you got to love it. You really do. So, this was one of the craziest weeks I can remember in so many ways. Let's first talk about the Saints and the Broncos. So, the Broncos had no active quarterbacks because Jeff Driscoll, who is a depth QB, I believe he tested positive for COVID. And Drew Lock, Blake Bortles, and another quarterback, another journeyman type, were close contacts, and apparently they weren't wearing masks. So the way it worked out, and people can agree, disagree with the way it was handled, certainly a lot of bad judgment on a lot of different fronts everywhere, but the Broncos had to start a guy named Kendall Hinton, who was a practice squad wide receiver who played some quarterback at Wake Forest, and as you would expect, it was a mitigated disaster, and New Orleans won easily. Believe it or not, Taysom Hill was actually the most functional quarterback on the field, which says a lot. That says a lot. New Orleans defense has been incredible. Obviously, in a spot like this, you'd expect them to do great. They did. And just so crazy to see something like that happen. It really was. Never seen anything like that before. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. Although, with it being 2020, who knows? So, New Orleans is definitely the class of the NFC. I think we have to say that right now, for sure. And certainly the class in the NFC South. That has been further proven out. The Chiefs versus the Bucks. Tyreek Hill with a game of... That's the first thing that I think of. Going against Tyreek Hill in one of my fantasy matchups, and believe it or not, I still have a chance to win if the game between Pittsburgh and Baltimore still takes place. That's a story for another day. Tyreek Hill goes absolutely berserk. Puts up 200-plus yards, 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Yes, first quarter, not first half, quarter. So, the Chiefs are looking really good. Really, really good. And the Bucks, I don't know. They fought back, made it a game. This was looking like it was going to get ugly. But with Tom Brady, I'm not liking what I'm seeing from this team. Could they pick up the pieces and make it work in the playoffs? Sure. There's a lot of talent on that team. It's possible. But like as a Giant fan, if that's who we lined up with, and right now as time goes on more and more, I don't know if it will be because they keep on losing. Sign me up. We almost beat them a few weeks ago. I know Brady in the Giants against Brady in the playoffs has worked, but here nor there. We'll see what happens. So, Kansas City with a big win at Tampa. Another NFC South, AFC West matchup. The Saints and the Falcons. And Sorry, not the Saints and the Falcons. The Raiders and the Falcons. Did not see that coming like that. But this is what the Raiders are. The Raiders are a team that you really don't know what you're getting exactly on a week-to-week basis. They seem to be another one of those teams that really plays up to the competition. They've played really well against the Chiefs, the Saints, and I've been impressed with them at times. And then Derek Carr just comes right back down to earth. And the Falcons are playing good football under Raheem Morris. This has been kind of going under the radar. Ever since they fired Dan Quinn, they're looking really solid. And if not for a Todd Gurley kind of touchdown that he should have never scored, he should have taken a knee, they would have won that game. They'd actually be not too far out of the playoff picture. It's going to be a little bit too much to overcome now, but you're starting to see that talent come through. And they really lost game. Like, this team should be in the playoff race. That Cowboy game, that Lion game that I just mentioned with Gurley, there was a lot of games they could have easily won, but in Falcon fashion, they lost it. So that team, while it won't really matter in terms of the playoffs, there's things to like there. And with Vegas, now it's a question as far as whether they get in. They were looking like they were in okay shape. Now they're very much on that AFC borderline, without a doubt. So, in summary, for those two divisions, AFC West, of course, the Chiefs running away with it, and they're going to be in a battle with the Steelers for that top spot. And to me, I really look forward to that potential AFC championship. And it's hard for me to pick against the Chiefs and Mahomes. It is. But the Steelers are definitely well equipped to do what they have to do to stop him, but I don't know if he can be stopped. I really don't. Pat Mahomes is the best player in the league, for sure. Just is. And in the NFC South, Saints are rolling. Saints are rolling, and I think the only team that could have something to say about that number one seed is the Packers, who beat them. So, for the NFC North, the Packers are running away with that division, without doubt, and they are pretty much in a situation where, like, very similar to, I guess, the Steelers, kind of, it's going to be a 3-team race with the Saints, the Packers, and the Seahawks. That's how it's looking, especially with the Seahawks' easy schedule. We can't count them out. And this is assuming that they keep the same playoff structure, because with COVID and things being rescheduled, that could change the whole playoff format. But if it is what we think it's going to be, 3-team race for the 1 seed. I'm not going to count the Seahawks out. I'm not. And the Packers obliterated the Bears. The Bears are horrible. A joke. They were 5-1. They're 5-6. They might be actually, with Matt Patricia getting fired by the Lions with their embarrassment on Thanksgiving, maybe things turn around for them, and maybe the Bears finish last in that division. I think anything's possible there. The Vikings continue to kind of tread water, I guess. They barely beat the Panthers. Kind of a crazy finish. So they're alive in the wild card race in the NFC, and we'll see. The Vikings play home against the Jaguars this week, so while I think that could actually be closer than people think, the Vikings should win that. So we can't count them out just yet, but that Cowboy game kind of turned me off in terms of what was possible, but it's a team to watch. And then in the NFC West, like I said, the Seahawks with a big win, really big win, and now they play the Giants, the Jets, they play Washington. They got a very easy schedule remaining, and the Rams lost to San Francisco, and Arizona lost to New England. So Seattle is building a lead, building a cushion, and the Rams are probably their biggest threat because the Rams already beat them, and I want to say that the last game of the year, no, that might not be true, but they do play in Seattle again late in the season. Rams and Seahawks, that could go a long way. But I give the Seahawks the edge right now with what I'm seeing and with that really easy schedule. So I think Russell Wilson, he hasn't been great, but he hasn't had to be. The defense has been better. They've been playing easier competition, but they've certainly they're not the joke that they were. So now you're in a spot where the NFC wildcard picture, you have, like I said, the Bucs, the Rams, who lost to San Francisco, the Cardinals. Those are the teams right now, but then you have teams on the outside looking in, like San Francisco. Who knows? They're completely banged up, but they got Richard Sherman back, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and others as well. So they're not going to be playing in San Francisco the next 2 weeks. Their home games are going to take place in Arizona due to restrictions in Santa Clara. I don't think that's going to have a huge effect, but I'm sure they'd prefer to play at their home stadium. But that's going to be interesting. All of a sudden, things are kind of changing right now. And the Rams, coming off that emotional win on Monday night at Tampa, somewhat unsurprisingly in a tough divisional matchup, came back. They came back and took the lead, but San Francisco was too much and got the win. And San Francisco has been hard to predict. They really have been. But I think we know with Shanahan, with different guys that are coming back, Richard Sherman, you can't understate the importance there of him coming back in. There is an avenue in for San Francisco, and their schedule isn't that tough. This Buffalo game that they have this coming week is going to be very big. Arizona loses to New England. Kyler Murray, something looks off with him. He must be playing hurt. I think that much is true. We saw that on the Thursday night game against Seattle last week, that something was off. So Arizona is in a precarious situation right now. And we'll just have to see what, Kyler, his health will be critical to this team's success. Without question. It's going to be huge. So, flipping to the AFC, staying with the AFC East, New England, like we said, picks up a key victory. It's a key win because now they're 5-6. It's not going to be easy in a strong AFC, but it keeps them alive. And that's one of those teams, too, that they're not playing terribly. They lost to Houston the week before, and that's looking like that wasn't such a bad loss. That's another team that's kind of on the rise. And so Cam Newton has been ugly. Let's call it as we see it. It doesn't look good. But when Belichick's the coach, I can't count them out. I can't. But as well in the AFC East, you had Buffalo keeping pace up top in the division. And Josh Allen didn't do a whole lot, didn't need to do a whole lot. Bills defense did a good job of containing Justin Herbert and kind of just limiting the big play. They let Austin Eckler get his check down plays, and they were pretty much in good control of that game the whole way, Buffalo. So, good win for them. And they continue to, try to win this AFC East. And I think they have a good shot at it. But Miami, they get a win as well against the New York Jets, who are absolutely horrible. Just really, really bad. And Sam Darnold, I think we have to stop defending this guy. I know Adam Gase is a horrible head coach, but at some point, when does Sam Darnold face the music? And maybe he has in some circles. I'm seeing a lot of people defend him still, and I understand the Jets are a joke, but Joe Flacco's giving them a better chance to win games. I did not think that. Maybe, Sam just came back from this injury, and I know Miami has a good defense, and I know that the Jets are banged up on the offensive line, but I just think we're just finding excuses all over the place. At some point, we need to look at him and say he is part of the problem. He is. And so with the Jets, they seem destined for 0-16. They do. Jacksonville's the only thing that's keeping this alive. And Jacksonville's playing better football than the Jets. Let's be clear about that. They are. I think the Jets probably do get that number one pick. And what happens with Sam Darnold in terms of trade value? I can't imagine you're going to get a whole lot. I know the quarterback position is extremely important, and they'll get something. But what are talent evaluators seeing that I'm not seeing? But to me, it looks like Darnold's just seeing ghosts, as he said. So he really is going to have to step it up in these last 5 weeks to change my opinion, because I'm very down on him, and I think he's starting to look like a bust. So you got the Bills and the Dolphins in the AFC East battling it out, and you had a really, really big showdown in the AFC South. Really big. So the AFC South, Titans-Colts, rematch of a few weeks ago. And this was a great win for the Titans. The Titans are tough to predict, but that offense gets going. It's a really good offense. I am so impressed. Derrick Henry, the guy's a tank. He is. He's so tough to take down, and it just helps the offense. But they can put up points when they have to. And the defense played a pretty good game. They did. This was good. I've been hard on that defense, but this is a really good week for them. To win in Indy, really, honestly, it was a bigger game for Tennessee because Indy already got their win. So if Indy won this one, had the tiebreaker, Indy was headed for a division title. Now Tennessee is the one that's looking like they're in decent shape. And we saw what they did in the playoffs last year. With Mike Vrabel, this team, they're clearly in a Belichick tree. Sometimes it doesn't work with Patricia, but some do. Some are, like I said, Flores, Joe Judge, and Mike Vrabel. This team, you could tell that they have something going on there. They're not in the class of the Chiefs. They're not in the class of the Steelers, although they played the Steelers very tough this year. They did. They came out with the loss, but they're kind of in that. I'd put them kind of ahead of the Bills, and I know they played and the Titans beat them. One could argue that the Titans might be the third best team in the AFC. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It really isn't. So good on them. Big time win. And now the Colts are in that AFC wildcard fight. And I think the Colts will get in as well. That's my prediction. I think the Titans and Colts will both make it. The Browns, who beat the Jaguars barely, they're 8-3 with a pretty easy schedule. They probably are one of the worst 8-3 teams you'll ever find. But like I said, with that remaining schedule, very likely that they will make the playoffs and end that drought. And Cleveland fans have been waiting for it for a long time. So good for them. Definitely. And so now that leads me to the one game remaining on the schedule, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. And I really think the NFL is trying everything that they can to get this in. And look, whether they should or not, that's a discussion another time. I think that clearly they don't want to go to a 18th week. They're trying everything they can. Honestly, if they moved it to Thursday, I wouldn't be surprised. But maybe I'm being optimistic here. I think that game will be played. And as it stands, Pittsburgh should absolutely destroy them because Baltimore is decimated by everyone on COVID. Lamar Jackson is out, so you have Robert Griffin III starting. The Ravens might get some running back help. It sounds like J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram will join Gus Edwards in that crowded backfield. That should help a bit, but Pittsburgh should win that handily if they play and stay undefeated. And that's kind of the other interesting thing if this gets canceled. With their undefeated season, how will people view that if this game never gets played? So it can kind of playing this game can erase a lot of headaches, but clearly, as we can tell, this isn't going away, and they're going to have to deal with this the rest of the season. So just people got to wear their masks. They got to follow the guidelines, the protocols, because if not, this season could go into the tubes. So we're really seeing it take a turn for the worse. We knew this was coming, and you just hope that players see what's going on around the league and say, hey, we got to stop. We need to do the best we can to complete this season. And I hope so. So we'll certainly be paying attention to Daniel Jones' injury status. And for me, it's more so about protecting his long-term health, and there should be no consideration to him playing this week. Unless somehow he just got so much better, which I doubt, you got to sit him. So I'm definitely excited to see what the Giants do. More importantly, almost, hopefully the rest of the NFC East loses, kind of like I had said. They have tough matchups. And then you got yourselves a situation where hopefully you're still in first place with 4 weeks to go. And basically, the way I see it is I'm hoping that they can split or win so either split Arizona, Cleveland, or like win one of 3, Arizona, Cleveland, and Baltimore. And then, of course, you have to, the Dallas game is a must. That in that, the last week of the season, you have to win that game. That much is clear. But I can't wait to see what happens. It's going to be the most that we've seen from the Giants at the end of the season in a long time. It's been a tough decade, so I'm here for it, and I'll talk to y'all next week.